Hey guys, in this video I wanted to talk about the recent changes that they've made to Terror Rifts, Oblivion Pillars, and Hellslayer bounties in the last anniversary update that we just had. So initially I was quite happy to read about the changes that they made in the patch notes, and they've basically made Terra Essence and also Eternal Gear more accessible. At least that's how it read like, but once I actually tried to test this out in the game, I noticed that there was a few weird things going on and it's not behaving exactly as expected. So this video is just kind of to let you guys know about these changes, as well as let Blizzard and the developers know about these changes, because I believe that there's been a mistake been made and there's probably something that's been lost in translation. So first of all, let's just read the initial patch notes which we got on Tuesday last week, and these patch notes have actually been changed, but let's just read these first and then I'll be comparing them to the Chinese patch notes as well as my findings in game. So let's go ahead and read this. So it says, Oblivion Pillar and Hellslayer bounty updates. We are significantly increasing the drop chances of earning legendary items for rewards by completing an Oblivion Pillar or Hellslayer bounty. This drop rate will be one of the best ways to earn more items and will be one of the best ways to earn incredibly powerful legendary items. So on the surface level, this seems like quite a good change, but at the same time, they're being very vague about how much they've increased the drop chances by. And in my experience in game, it still feels like the drop chance isn't really that high. But let's go ahead and continue reading this. So it says, for Terror Rifts, if you don't receive a Terror Essence from the first 3 towers you complete, you're guaranteed to get a Terror Essence on completing your next tower. So this is actually a very, very good change, and I'm really happy to see that this was added. So this basically means that once you complete 3 Stygian Spires within a specific Terror Rift, if you complete the 4th one, you're guaranteed to get a Terror Essence if you didn't get one in the first 3. So there's some kind of pity drop system that's been added to the game, which means that if you have extremely bad luck, as long as you're completing 4 spires within every single Terror Rift, you're guaranteed to get a minimum of 10 Terror Essence per week. So this is a very welcome change indeed, and from my testing in game, this is actually working as expected. In every single Terror Rift which I did where I completed 4 towers, I was getting at least 1 Terror Essence. So this is really good to see. So initially these were the only 2 changes which we had in the English patch notes, but at the same time the Chinese patch notes were released, which give us a bit more information. So I'm going to show the patch notes in Chinese, and if you can understand Chinese then you feel free to pause the video here. But now we'll look at the translation and I'll just read through this. So bear in mind that I just used Google Translate for this, and some of the words might not be super accurately translated, so I'm going to try to do my best to make sense of it. So it says optimizations for Terror Rifts, Demon Slayer bounties, which I think are Hellslayer bounties, and the Tide of Terror, which is Oblivion Pillars, as far as I understand. So the first point we have is, it says, a new weekly task has been added to the activity guide after using 10 Death's Breaths for the week, and I think Death's Breaths are the Terror Essence, I believe. You can receive a 3+3 or 3+4 legendary equipment. So you'll get a triple stat or a eternal 4+4 legendary equipment. This legendary equipment is considered to be produced in the Terror Rift, Hellslayer bounty, or Oblivion Pillar gameplay only once a week. So if I'm understanding this correctly, it means that if you use 10 Terror Essence in a specific week, then you're guaranteed to get at least a 3+3 item or a 4+4 eternal legendary item. So this is actually an extremely good change that they've added. The problem with eternal items is that you weren't able to really find that many, and in this game you're kind of upgrading your legendaries pretty quickly every week or every 2 weeks. So this is a really good change just to make it viable for people to actually use these eternal items and be able to get at least 1 piece a week, which could potentially be usable. But bear in mind that you'd have to use at least 10 Terror Essence for the week, so this lines up perfectly with the other change which they made, which is to guarantee that you get at least 1 Terror Essence every Terror Rift. So if this is working as intended, it would mean that as long as you're capping your 10 weekly Terror Rifts, you'd get a minimum of 10 Terror Essence, and you'd be able to get at least 1 3+3 or 4+4 legendary equipment. So I'm actually going to be coming back to talk about this specific point, but let's just continue on and read these patch notes. So the second point says that they increased the drop rate of legendary items from the Hellslayer bounties and also the Oblivion Pillars. So this matches with what was seen in the English patch notes. The first change is the second change in these Chinese patch notes. So the third point reads that it increased the chances of players getting high-end equipment in the Hellslayer bounties and Oblivion Pillars when Terror Essence is used until the monster goes berserk. The legendary equipment dropped in the gameplay has a higher chance of being 3+2, 3+3, or 3+4 equipment. To be honest, I'm not really sure what they mean by this point, until the monster going berserk. work. I was initially thinking that this means that you let the monsters enrage, but as far as I know, the enrage mechanic is only in the raids or gauntlet mode, and there's not really an enrage mechanic in these modes. If you can understand Chinese, then please do let me know what they mean by this in the comments below. So for the fourth point, it says that they added a protection mechanism for the output of Terra Essence, and when a player opens 3 towers in the Terra Rift and fails to obtain a Terra Essence, then the player will be able to obtain a Terra Essence by opening the 4th tower. So this matches up exactly with the second change that we got in the English patch notes. So basically the original English patch notes have included 2 of these points, which is point 2 and point 4. So now let's come back to the first point in these patch notes. So I actually couldn't wait to test this change out, and this was actually one of the first things I did when the patch notes hit, is that I farmed up 10 Terra Essence and actually used those to open 12 Oblivion Pillars in a row, just to make sure that I tested this correctly. And unfortunately, in the end, what I saw is that I didn't receive any triple or any 4 legendary item, so this change is not working as intended at all. And something which I noticed while running these Terra Essence is that if we go into the game and actually look at the Terra Essence, they've actually added something very strange here, which I didn't notice before. So let's go ahead and read this. It says, used to start an Oblivion Pillar which has a chance to award eternal equipment, can also be used to create Hellslayer bounties. Chance to find eternal equipment increases when you have run 70 or more Oblivion Pillars this week. So this sentence here is what has recently been added, and it didn't exist in the game before, and honestly this has kind of left me a bit flabbergasted. So it makes no sense to me that they've added a pity drop system which allows you to get 10 Terra Essence per week, but then they say that to get a eternal equipment you have to run 70 or more Oblivion Pillars per week. This is just completely unrealistic. As a regular player, you're not really going to have 70 Terra Essence saved up unless you save them for months. So I guess the alternative is that you have to buy a ton of Terra Essence from the market just to have these 70, and then it's going to take you forever just to run 70 Oblivion Pillars in a single week. This is just completely bonkers, and I think that this is honestly a mistake that they've done, and this is meant to be 10 Terra Essence rather than 70 in a week. So after reading this in game, I tried to have a look online to see if anyone else had noticed this, but so far I haven't really noticed anyone talking about this. So I went ahead and just had another quick peek at the patch notes just to see if they'd make any changes, and just like with the rune system, they've kind of gone back and tried to correct some of the patch notes that they made. So these are the updated patch notes in English, and actually they look exactly the same as before. They've just added another point at the end here. So it says that additionally we're including a daily codex task for successfully completing 10 Oblivion Pillars or Hellslayer bounties, which also has a high chance of rewarding exceptional equipment. So this is where I think something's been lost in translation, because the Chinese patch note says that this is a weekly task of completing 10 Oblivion Pillars or Hellslayer bounties, whereas the updated English patch notes say that this is a daily task for completing 10 Oblivion Pillars, which would mean that it would be 70 Oblivion Pillars in the week, as the information in the game says. So I'm not entirely sure if this is a mistake which they're going to correct in the future, or it's an intended change and a difference between the English client and the Chinese client. I don't have access to the Chinese client, so I can't really test this change that they've made. But all I can say is that in the English client, if you were to run 10 Oblivion Pillars in a week, you're not actually going to get a guaranteed triple or 4 item as the Chinese patch notes say. So I really hope that Blizzard does correct this, because 70 Terra Essence or 70 Oblivion Pillars in a single week seems like far too high of a number. And on another note, I really wish that they would be a bit more diligent in releasing these patch notes and making sure everything's correct. At the end of the day, quite a lot of these systems in the game require a fair bit of time investment as well as monetary investment. You can actually buy Terra Essence from the market with platinum, but of course you can also purchase them using real money by buying orbs. So it's quite disheartening to see that there's confusion for the consumer within these systems, and it's not the first time this has happened. The rune system, which was recently introduced, also has this problem, and the familiar system, which was also introduced at the start of this year, also had quite a lot of confusion with players not really understanding how it works, and it wasn't really properly explained in the patch notes or the tooltips. So with that said, guys, I'm going to advise you to carefully consider your time and money investment. I would also advise you to keep hold of all of your Terra Essence and not run any Oblivion Pillars or Hellslayer bounties until this mistake has been fixed by Blizzard. So for now, guys, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.